Good day all, RobotnikHolmes here. Do you guys want to see more stories that don't really matter on the long run? Well, you're in luck. These next 2 issues are full of jokes and stuff, and for that reason, I'm not just going to sit idly by. It's about time we continue our course and sail through the next 2 issues of the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. We're going to look at issues number 7 and number 8. Number 7's cover art has our heroic blue critter tearing through classical novels and books, all for the sake of a pun. They also did away with the white void background for a warmer colour, which is an improvement. Baby steps, people. In Uncle Chuck's Treasure, the freedom fighters are doing what is typical of characters aiming to take back the planet from a dictatorship. Playing on a seesaw, however, their antics allow them to discover a secret treasure map in the ceiling. Strangely, the other characters bring up how a treasure map quest really does not matter, as with Robotnik taking over, money is now worthless. But Sonic tells them that Uncle Chuck is a great inventor, and I guess that wins everyone over. Well, sans Antoine and Bunny Rabbit. I guess they're out drinking coffee somewhere. On their quest, the heroes see that the Mobius National Park has been contaminated by toxic waste. That seems to really affect their health, so Sonic decides to do the whole treasure hunt at super fast speeds. Tails finds a single Sonic CD looking flower that still flourishes, but not for long, as Dr. Robotnik has tracked them down and sicks a whole team of badniks onto them. With the freedom fighters separated and slowly being weakened by the toxic surroundings, the heroes seem to be at a disadvantage. However, the blue bugger is able to do his thing and trick the robots into their own undoing, making terrible puns along the way. At one point, Sonic even channels Peter Pan and does an impression of the villain to trick his henchmen. After escaping the bad guy, the heroes dig up the treasure in the park, although it appears sealed with a lock, so I guess you guys need to go on another quest to find the key. However, shock! Dr. Robotnik is able to swoop in at the last minute and take the treasure chest. Sonic doesn't seem too bothered by this because earlier he had suddenly remembered what exactly was in there. What was in Uncle Chuck's treasure chest, you ask? Why, Sonic the Hedgehog's bronzed baby shoes, of course! That's a joke? In Story 2, Sorceress in Distress, the freedom fighters all dress up for a Fright Night party, and, whoa, is this a Halloween-themed story? Why wasn't this issue released in October? I do like the costumes they're dressed in though. Boomer is a bad report card, Tails is an original Skunk OC, Sally is a Final Fantasy character, Antoine is SatAM, and Sonic, what's that, weed? Is that what you're going for, you clever dick? Anyway, the issue focuses on Sally Acorn, who is sick of Sonic and Antoine acting as their protective bodyguards. So she goes outside to find the perfect magic staff-looking stick, and when she tries to practice magic, she thinks that she actually does that. Unbeknownst to her, Dr. Robotnik is actually watching her on a secret camera, and the good doctor falls in love with her. I mean, it's more for the idea of power, but dude, she's a Mobian, and it'll never work out. So Sally is ambushed by the dude who took over the world and banished her father the king, and he tries to woo her with various romantic yet disgusting gifts. Sally thinks to hide her identity, and the smitten scoundrel decides to kidnap her so that they can be wed, basically making him the Bowser to her Princess Peach. Though not if Sonic the Hedgehog has anything to say about it. At their wedding before an audience of robots and roboticized citizens, the villain wants her to showcase her powers in front of everyone. Thankfully, Sonic does another speedy thing and proceeds to beat up the villain so quickly he's practically invisible, and that fools everyone to thinking that it was magic, I guess. Sally is saved in the middle of this ruckus, and we're reminded of Sonic and Sally's relationship, but also show her being ungrateful for the rescue. I don't think the character needed that. So, the story progression is non-existent as usual. The first one involves the gang going on a treasure hunt, and the other one has Sonic rescuing Sally from the clutches of the big bad. So it's more self-contained stories that don't really have any bearing on the comic at all. At the very least, we had more focus on Sally, even if she was kidnapped. The story is also freaking filled with puns. Like, nearly every panel just has a speech bubble with a witty remark over the current predicament. It gets kind of aggravating, like, it's not even subtle. For the story, I'm giving it a score of 1. Dave Manak's art is as neat as always. Nothing here really looks different than the previous issues. The characters except for Sally and Dr. Robotnik are a little left in the dark in terms of characterization. In fact, I don't think Antoine even appears in one of the stories, and Bunny doesn't appear at all. Did the writers just forget these two existed? Who's to blame here? Sally is also portrayed as a damsel in distress, whereas in the cartoon I'm pretty sure she could handle things herself without having to be rescued. At least Dr. Robotnik was slightly enjoyable with his over-the-top displays of affection. I'm giving the art and characters a 2. The extra pages of jokes are funny, but only due to how they reference other things, sometimes intentionally and sometimes accidentally. Like, here, Sonic boxes against his shadow due to how fast he is. Though little did the comic writers know that that shadow would end up inspiring his own rival character a couple of years down the line. So in total, issue number 7 of the Sonic Archie comics gets a 3 out of 10. That's all. It doesn't expand on much that we've already seen, and it doesn't exactly make use of the source material either, so it's pretty forgettable. Either way, I'm sure the next issue is more promising. I mean, just look at the cover art. Issue number 8 boasts that Sonic would leave the... Good golly, they actually referenced various Marvel and DC superheroes in the dust cloud. Think about the copyright, was that even allowed? Also, fun fact, in any future reprints, including Sonic Mega Collection, they actually removed all the background characters, I guess leaving the audience to interpret who was actually in there. In Bots All Folks, the evil Dr. Robotnik finds out that Crabmeat has been reading comic books, really fourth wall breaking ones to be exact. This breaks one of the villain's crazy strict rules, which itself is strangely the only consistent thing in these early issues. Crabmeat also gives him the idea to create robots based off of comic book heroes to defeat his #1 enemy, and Dr. Robotnik takes in that idea and destroys them both. Man, he's really quite a dick to the forces he used to conquer the planet with. So, while he's out presenting his nasty deeds to a SWATbot cameraman, Sonic bumps right into him and is ready to foil his plot. Robotnik anticipated this and sends out the... what's that, the egg symbol? Surprise! Botman is here, and it kicks the Hedgehog's ass. Literally. This robot appears to be completely Sonic-proof, as it is resistant to his Sonic spin attack and whatnot, and the Hedgehog ends up defeated. All the freedom fighters can do is watch their beloved hero lie defeated on the ground. Nah, it turns out Sonic actually defeated the robot, at super fast speed. Faster than the eye can see. In this visual medium of a comic book. Anyway, Robotnik reveals that he already built another superpowered robot, this one being based off of Wolverine. However, instead it seems that they made Steve Urkel bot. I mean, this pop culture reference makes no sense, but they do bring up Steve Urkel and Sonic from the original cartoon sharing the same voice actor. I guess Robotnik just built more than he said, because now appears the Spawn parody. Spawn Mower. What the hell? I mean, there are funny quips about it and how brooding it is, but Sonic defeats it easily, and here's where the comic gets a tad lazy. The villain just throws superhero parodies at Sonic, referencing Magnus, Robot Fighter, Captain Marvel, the dude one, and Mighty Mouse. It even comes with a little quip. Afterwards, Sonic slips on some oil like the dumbass he is, and Dr. Robotnik gets away, in keeping with the comic's status quo at this point in the series. Tails tells me not to leave, but I don't know, I'm kind of already checked out at this point. Story 2, A Little Sonic Goes a Long Way. Sonic shows that he can play the guitar, and then races the musical note before it can reach Tails. We get it, he's a fast boy. Because the big bad is such a Scrooge, music in Mobius has been banned because, you know, no fun and all that. However, Sonic's music note is shown to travel all the way to Robotropolis, where it collides with Dr. Robotnik's non-existent earhole. This gets him into a rage as he really hates the sound of music, but Snively shows him his latest invention, a kind of temporary shrinking orb. The big bad decides to track the freedom fighters for whenever they pass into the Forbidden Zone so they can prepare for an attack using said orb. Meanwhile, the freedom fighters go to the abandoned concert hall to collect the other instruments and start a band, I guess? But in truth, it was a trap set by Robotnik, and they are shrunken down to size. Yeah, it's one of those typical plots. The villain tries to suck the freedom fighters into a vacuum cleaner machine, and this goes on for a lot of pages, until the heroes are able to fight back with what Dr. Robotnik despises most: musical instruments. The effects of the shrinking thingy wear off, and the villain taunts that he has signalled all his robot armies to come here. Sonic points an ominous shape at him, and the freedom fighters chase him off by playing music. Look at Tails. The story ends with Robotnik and Snively in a room full of teeny tiny badniks, thanks to that meddling hedgehog. There are so many pop culture references in this issue, holy crap. Mike Gallagher has outdone himself, not just in the form of comic book bots, but like everywhere. Every page, nearly every text bubble has a pop culture reference. I mean, the story is still fine. It's the same old formula of Dr. Robotnik making a thing and then that thing being trashed at the end of the story. But the robots based off different properties was a fun inclusion. The second story was simply a villain shrinking the hero's plot, and that's about as boring as you can imagine. In terms of story, this gets an average 2. I bet Dave Manick had a blast drawing the comic book bots. They're the only new thing in this whole issue worth noting because, well, look at them. Botman is basically a metal mockery of Batman and has a different phrase on his chest in each panel for some reason. For the freedom fighters, I'm glad they remembered to include all of them this time, including Bunny, even if she's just there to fill in the team. All that considered, I'll give it a plus for trying. This gets a 3. Let's see, the total score for issue number 8 is a 5 out of 10. It was a step up from being boring and went into really absurd funny jokes, which is better than nothing, I guess. Anyway, that was fun, and I reckon the next 2 issues are going to be a bit of a joyride too. So stay tuned till next time when I analyse issues number 9 and number 10.